it's Sherry with Cowboy Country, and we're here at the Sutton Place Hotel with Justin Moore. Justin, thanks so much for taking some time to spend with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So congratulations on the success of Off the Beaten Path, your current CD. And tell us how that's been coming into this with the #1, Point at You, and I understand the CD is also hit #1 on Billboard when it debuted.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been exciting, you know. This is our third album. I feel like I'm a little more comfortable, a little more relaxed with the whole process this time around than I have been in the past, you know. And for Off the Beaten Path to be our second consecutive #1 album debut is very, very exciting. And we've been really fortunate that every time we've put an album out, the first single from that album has gone #1, and Point at You was that song on this album. And you know that's exactly how you draw it up, is to have the song go #1 the week that the album comes out, and we've been blessed to make that happen 3 times in a row. However, I don't know how we did it, but country radio and all the fans have really been good to us over the years, and we're certainly enjoying every minute of it.
So Till My Last Day and
If Heaven Wasn't So Far
If Heaven
Away.
Wasn't So Far Away. I heard rumors that the CD was already cut and then you brought those on. Is that true?
That's a true story, yeah. We were, my wife is from Louisiana, which is way, 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 way south. About as far south as you can go before you go into the Gulf of Mexico. And she and I were down there for Christmas with her family, and I was driving her around and she was shopping and all that good stuff. And the Outlaws Like Me album, which those songs were on, it was finished. There was 10 songs on the album. We were finished with it. We were looking for trying to figure out what the first single from that album was going to be. And I heard a clip of Red Akins, another great artist, doing If Heaven Wasn't So Far Away on YouTube, and I thought, man, I wish I'd have recorded that song. And coincidentally, my grandpa, who's my hero, had just passed away of cancer, and so it really struck a chord with me. And I called my record label and said, I know what the first single's going to be. And they go, what? And I said, If Heaven Wasn't So Far Away. They go, I've never heard of it. I said, I know, we got to go cut it. And fortunately, they let me do that. And you know, in thinking about that, I thought, man, there's really another couple songs that I really would like to go ahead and put on this album. And they said, well, let's just put all 3 of them on there. And you know, so 2 of those 3 that we added became #1 songs. So I don't know where that came from or why that feeling came over us, but I'm glad it did.
So I understand you just are headlining your very first tour. How has that been?
It's going to be a lot of fun. We're kicking off here in a week or so. So it's nerve-wracking, exciting all at the same time, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We did a smaller tour early this year to kind of get our feet wet and kind of see where we were at, you know, and you know, you have an idea what you can go out there and do, but you don't really know till you go do it. And that tour exceeded our expectations. That was called the Outlaws Like Me tour, and really allowed us the opportunity to step it up a notch this time around with production. And I think we had 1 tractor trailer on that tour. We're going to have 3 on this one. So we're excited about it. Plus, you know, we have 2 great artists going out with us. Randy Houser, who's a great friend of mine, and he's had back-to-back #1 songs and is doing well. And Josh Thompson, who's another good friend of mine, who's had a number of hits on the radio in the States. And we're excited. You know, this is what we all dream of doing, is going out there and putting your name on the bill at the top of the ticket and you know, seeing how it goes. And the fact that I get to do it with 2 of my best friends in the world makes it even more special.
Are we going to get that tour up in Canada?
I hope so. You know, we've that right now is running through, I believe, the end of May, 65 dates, something like that. And we are already putting together some things for about this time next year, and we're looking at some different options, Canada being one of them. So I hope that comes to fruition.
So with the performing and the interviews and everything you're doing day to day, how do you keep up your energy and keep going, doing what you're doing?
Coffee. Coffee and whiskey.
When did you know you wanted to perform?
You know what, later in life, you know, a lot of the guys in my band, a lot of artist buddies I have, knew they wanted to do this from the time they were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. I sang in church and stuff like that, but I never had any desire to do it for a career. And I was a junior in high school, and my dad, because I had cut a little CD for him and my mom to have when I went off to college, was passing it around. He said, "What do you think about doing this for a living?" And I grew up in a town of 300 people in Arkansas. I'm going, I didn't know you could do it for a living. But that sounds a lot better than a real job. And so I went to college for 2 weeks and decided that was enough of that, and decided to give it a shot. And, you know, I was cautiously optimistic when I moved to Nashville. I knew how competitive I was, and I had a belief in myself that I could do it. But, you know, whether the opportunity came my way, I didn't know. But I just didn't want to wake up when I was 30-year-old and wonder what if. So, you know, whether I made this happen or whether I didn't, I wanted to at least know. Unfortunately, I haven't had to have a backup plan yet. So I've had a ton of people around me over the past 10, 12 years that have done a lot more for my career than I've done for it. And you know, again, the fans and radio have been there from the get-go for us, which is not always the case. And we're very blessed to be where we are. But it was later in life when I actually realized I wanted to do it.
I know you write quite a few of the songs. Have you always been a songwriter, or?
When I moved to Nashville in 2002, I was looking for songs to record, to shop to try to get a record deal. And the songwriters in town, which now I fully understand, they weren't giving their best songs to me. Nobody had a clue who I was or cared who I was. They were wanting Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney to cut them, which obviously I understand. But I just kind of got to the point where I didn't get anything I wanted, and I said, I'll just sit down and write it myself. It can't be that hard. I was wrong. It was really hard. I wrote a lot of bad songs, but second song I ever wrote was a song called Small Town USA, which in the States was our first #1 record. And, you know, looking back now, I can't imagine doing what I do without writing. I'm not an artist that has to write every song I do, but I do write a lot of them. And I feel like that kind of helped me find my voice and kind of is what sets me apart from the other people out there, and really defined who I wanted to be and what I wanted to say as an artist.
Where were you the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio?
I was actually in Arkansas, which was pretty cool. We had a song called Back That Thing Up out. That was our first single that went all the way to 38 or something like that. And so I was driving back home. I was living in Nashville at the time. I was driving back home to see my folks for a few days, for, you know, have a little bit of time off, and heard it. And then the next single was Small Town USA. I heard that for the first time in Arkansas, and then I heard If Heaven Wasn't So Far Away for the first time in Arkansas. So I don't know what the deal is. I guess that means I'm spending a lot of time in Arkansas, which ain't a bad thing.
When you are performing, what are some of your favorite songs to do?
Well, as a songwriter, usually your favorite song is whatever's new at the time, which can get you into trouble when you go out there and you got, you know, quite a few hit records and you want to just go play new stuff. The fans come to hear the stuff they know that they want to sing along to. But, you know, I would have to say probably the biggest reaction that we get to any song every night, in and out, night in and night out, is Beta Hook, which was a single for us. It was right after If Heaven Wasn't So Far Away, off the Outlaws Like Me album, and it wasn't the highest charting song of my career. I think it went to 14 or 15 or something like that, but it's far and away probably the biggest hit of my career, which sounds weird to say, but it's fun to see people react to that song every night.
Would you say that's your signature song, or do you feel another song?
You know, I think if you ask radio, they would say probably one thing. If you ask the fans, they would say something else. Fans don't know if a song, they couldn't tell you which 4 of my songs are #1. They don't really care. You know, as an industry, we're pretty chart based, and we you know, watch that really closely, and but the fans don't really know. So if you ask the fans, they probably would say Beta Hook or maybe Small Town USA. Radio wise, you know, If Heaven Wasn't So Far Away was a big record for us. Till My Last Day was a big record for us. They would probably pick one of those if I had to guess.
So you say you spend a lot of time in Arkansas. How do the kids, I know they're little, but do they kind of get what Daddy does?
I think my oldest is starting to. She'll be 4 in February. My youngest will be 2 next month. I think they're starting to. They've both learned to walk on a bus. They both spend a lot of time with me out on the road. I'm fortunate that we have our own bus, my wife and I do, so they can spend a lot of time out there on the road with me. So they see it night in and night out, see what Dad does. And I don't know if they understand the whole scope of everything yet, but I think, they definitely, they hear me on the radio and they'll go, "There's Dad." And so that's kind of cool, but I'm probably just going to be just like any other dad, and I hope that's the case where once they get to a certain age, I'm not really cool. It don't matter what I do for a living.